Has the eighth largest country in the world just accelerated their attack on Bitcoin? This 2.2 giant tried to double the capital gains tax on Bitcoin from 27% to 43% only weeks ago. And now their central bank plans to quietly release a report on Christmas Eve where they called Bitcoin what? They called Bitcoin some shocking remarks. And it seems like this epidemic of Bitcoin attacks is not just privy to Italy here, folks, because of course that's who we're talking about, but it's across all of Europe. And I'm going to dive into this and more as to why Italy has been one of the main attackers when it comes to Bitcoin and everything going forward. So it labeled Bitcoin as crime as a service here. You read that right, folks. Crime as a service, citing their suspect role in facilitating money laundering activities. They literally titled this report, Money Laundering in Blockchain. Can you follow their footsteps in the crypto world? And it's just absolutely ridiculous. I mean, I don't understand how you can be so wrong when it comes to Bitcoin. Time and time again, Italy just keeps doubling down. So greetings, Johnny, in the chat, man. What's up? I hope you're just as shocked as I am here, seeing how crazy Italy's being when it comes to doubling and tripling down on Bitcoin and their incorrect calls, right? So we see it here. They called it crime as a service. They released this report literally Christmas Eve, December 24th. Now, why do you think they released it this time? Why? It is very peculiar timing if you don't say so yourself, right? So they released their economic and financial report that raised concerns about Bitcoin's peer-to-peer system, crime as a service, as they labeled it. It helps elicit activities like money laundering. I mean, it's just absolutely ridiculous. If you actually look at the on-chain data, you'd know that that claim is very incorrect. It's way overblown. In fact, a majority of money launderers utilize cash. It's untraceable. Bitcoin is a full and open, transparent ledger. Does that sound like a system that you would want to use as a money laundering technique? I don't think so, to be honest with you. I do not necessarily think so, but hey, the Bank of Italy is now doubling down. And it's pointed out that regions with weak anti-money laundering regulations, such as certain countries that have identified as Financial Action Task Force as high risk. And this is a place where, Bitcoin is widely being used allegedly. So, I think it's just absolutely ridiculous. It's a sign that Italy just does not know what they're doing when it comes to Bitcoin. But just how big is the Bank of Italy globally? Is this report really that drastic or groundbreaking? I think you'd be a little surprised just how big the Bank of Italy is, just in a global sense of things, right? So the Bank of Italy is the largest bank within Italy, obviously. It's got a market cap of nearly 80 billion, 79 billion in 2023. So it's the largest bank by market cap. And it's has a view, it's sizable within Europe, but it does not rank among the top global banks. So it is big in Europe, but it is not one of the biggest banks in the world. But I think the influence of this bank in Europe can be widely seen. And I will show you why, because of their much highly touted assets here, where this Bank of Italy is holds one third. Holds the third largest global gold reserve globally as of 2021. So they've got a big Eurozone influence. It directly impacts the monetary policy across the Eurozone, makes influential in the global financial markets. It has a very, very large gold reserve, solidifying its position in the global financial system. The Bank of Italy actively participates in international organizations like the Financial Stability Board, engaging in discussions in global financial stability. And lastly, the Bank of Italy conducts extensive economic research, which contribute to global economic understandings of global trends. Now, isn't this funny? The Bank of Italy allegedly studies all these economic trends, what is going on in the world. Yet, the Bank of Italy still does not understand Bitcoin. Still does not, it has not gotten it figured it out. I mean, you guys saw it here, right? They've published a very slanderous report when it comes to Bitcoin on Christmas Eve. And I wonder why they necessarily did it on this day, right? I mean, they've got a bunch of different crypto guidelines. In July 9th, they've published guidelines on how to apply European rules on crypto assets, in their payment systems. So it's just kind of interesting that they, link all these things together, but it exposes, that's right, exposes Bitcoin as a tool for crime here, right? So they've gone through and they've discussed a lot of their, differences when there has been some sort of gap when it comes to understanding. But I think the biggest gap is their regulatory gaps here, which we're going to dive into here. So the Bank of Italy has highlighted challenges posed by the decentralized financial system. See, I think this is huge here because this right here is talking about the traditional KYC, anti-money laundering. So I think that in the end, this is really just highlighting what the plan of the European Union is, which I think is to, boom, create this digital euro, create a CBDC. I think that's the underlying plan here of the European Union, where they really want to push this digital euro on you. That's their end goal, plain and simple. Where Italy is at the forefront of this. They're, like I showed you, they're a very powerful bank. They always want to know where this money is going. They think it's very difficult in order to track the peer-to-peer transactions. Essentially, it would be difficult. You can have a non KYC wallet and get sats from a friend for mowing the lawn. You could do a lot of crazy tasks or trade business to business, go peer to peer, and not necessarily need the KYC that these banks know and love, right? They want to be able to tax you on that, right? So, I mean, we saw this earlier where, Italy had cited some things like, or has tried to, excuse me, raise capital gains tax from 42% or from to 42% from 26%. They even talked about at this time potentially taxing unrealized gains. You didn't even have to sell in order to get their tax or to have you pay the tax man, right? So I think it's interesting that Italy is really coming hard at Bitcoin and trying to, severely tax it, severely just hinder the use of its people. But has these policies worked before? The answer is plain and simple, folks. No, they never have. They never will. These policies always lead people to move to another place, lead people to kind of go around a different direction. I just think that people just at the end of the day go where the incentives lie. So if Italy is telling them, hey, you know what, you got to go get away, got to do all these other things, we're going to tax the shit out of you, people are going to move away from Italy. So I think plain and simple, it's going to happen. And Italy is going to bend the knee here soon. But let's go over some of the regulations that they currently have there in Italy to see, okay, if I wanted to use Bitcoin and or crypto, ugh, that word just sounds disgusting when I say it. So what are some of the things that you'd have to worry about as of July 16th when this was last updated. So, um, Italy has not adopted laws or regulations specifically about this, and no laws prohibit somebody from buying, selling, or holding. Right. So it's interesting that they're buying, selling, or holding. You can buy on a crypto exchange. They have some legal ones there. Coinbase, Kraken, Crypto.com. You know, there you can buy some on peer-to-peer platforms, eToro, Binance, Bitpanda, which I've never heard of either. And they actually let you buy it through some Italian banks as well, which is I think is kind of interesting, right? Um, but with all this being said, they want you to have more banks or more access or more money flowing through the banks, of course, where they don't necessarily want you to be able to go peer to peer and get these things, right? So they want you to have higher capital gains tax. I already highlighted that, right? They wanted to raise the capital gains tax from 26 to 42% necessarily, right? So, this has already been proposed. It hasn't happened yet. It's not going to get there yet. But as KBS in the chat said, good information. Thank you. European governments much closer to all evil. WEF as a start. I agree with you. They won't win. They won't, plain and simple, right? Because people can now move with their feet, vote with their legs, truly get out of it. And I think that Italy is going to learn the hard way here, slow and steady, that people can move away, get away from some of the evil policies that they potentially could have. But this is where I think this is all going, right? I think that this is where Italy really wants you to be, right? This is their home. They want you to buy Bitcoin through a bank. Initially, right? And then what is their next step? What's it going to be through there, right? I think the next step is this digital euro. They're basically going to create this where, look, they don't even hide it anymore. It would be a digital form of cash issued by the central bank. What is the definition of a CBDC, folks? What is that definition? Well, I'll show you. A central bank digital currency is a digital version of a country's fiat currency that is issued by the central bank and available to the public. They're not even hiding it at this point. They're embracing it. They want you to know. They want you to have these CBDCs so they can control you and see exactly what you're doing, right? So they want you to know everything that's going on, or they want to know everything that's going on. They want you to know where you're spending your money and all of that aspects, right? And you might be saying, Brandon, why are you getting so conspiratorial? Why are you going against this? Well, I think the writing is on the wall at this point. I mean, why are they looking at raising taxes from 26 to 42%? Why? On Bitcoin only, on Bitcoin only, right? On some of these on crypto or whatever. Why? It's because they tried to frame it that everybody in Bitcoin is stealing from the poor, making a lot of money, and that you weren't rewarded, or you can't be rewarded for holding Bitcoin through the volatility spikes, the ups and downs, and everything like that, right? So, I don't necessarily think that that's why that's any sort of controversy at this point. Now, here's where some more information on the digital euro and what the EU is doing and why. So the digital euro, they want to make this, CBDC. They see it's a greater choice to the consumers when instead of physical cash cannot be used. It would complement cash. Yeah, okay, right. I mean, it would complement it, right? I mean, how is that name a bigger lie that you've ever been told that a digital euro or a digital CBDC would complement cash? I could hand you a $20 bill, 20 euros right now. Nobody would know that I handed you that money, but CBDC, the government would know everything that would happen, right? All of that money that was being used and moved there, right? So, um, what else does this say? So, furthermore, the digital euro can ensure the central bank's money in both future, and digital form. And it's widely available to and accepted to people in the Euros era. And it promotes accessibility and financial inclusion. I mean, these are just essentially a bunch of buzzwords that they're promoting for you to be encouraged to to utilize their CBDC and everything along those lines. I think it's just a bunch of baloney. I think that, countries like Italy that are doing these things where they're promoting, potential, tax hikes and just basically being very bearish when it comes to the overall Bitcoin state, all the circular economies and things like that. I think that's absolutely crazy. And I think people are going to start voting with their feet. And I think it's very obvious based on the timing of this report, releasing this on Christmas Eve when nobody was really talking about Bitcoin or anything else. It's really quiet. They kind of wanted to sweep this under the rug. And I wonder why. I mean, they knew it was going to be a controversial and a hot take, so to speak. And so, yeah, I think that is, it's clear and obvious here. So, yeah, we got Michael in the chat says a new all-time high in 2025. Well, Michael, I've got news for you. I've been on a couple podcasts here where I have made some price predictions for 2025. Speaking of price, we can dive into it. We're sitting here just under 95K, a little bit of a green day today, so that's good and it's positive. But I mean, there's a lot of things. I know there's a lot of negatives that I've lined out here, but I think there's a lot of positives in the Bitcoin space as well, right? I mean, we have the potential of the strategic Bitcoin reserve here in the United States. We have over 20 countries and nation states talking about a strategic Bitcoin reserve. We've got multiple companies, including Amazon, potentially putting Bitcoin on their balance sheet. I think that it's without a doubt that we'll see a new all-time high in 2025. With all that being said, obviously it's not financial advice and everything like that, but I have made the price prediction that I think the floor of 2025 would be 250K. And I think that it's not outrageous to see that in the Bitcoin price in 25. And you never know, with as much FOMO money that we have coming onto the market, I wouldn't doubt it. We see like upwards of 800 or potentially 850K as well, because now I know that sounds crazy, because governments and businesses, if they implement these strategic reserves plans or putting Bitcoin on the balance sheet, they're not going to be the, paper hands that we joke around with about retail, right? They're going to be the diamond hand hodlers, right? Because they have to program all this in. They have to, say, "Hey, I'm a government. I'm going to buy 1 million coins," which the U.S. is proposing, and part of that proposal is to hold those Bitcoin over 5 years. Now, if you hodl, right? I mean, there's going to be more buying than it's coming onto the market, and less selling pressure. So I think that'll continue, and I don't think that will be going anywhere. So I think that is a very big aspect of why I see the price pumping and why I see where it's going to go. And I think a lot of people have woken up to the fact that the fiat system has broken a lot of industries. One of those industries is the health insurance industry. I mean, we know what's going on here, and I can't really say too much because it is YouTube, but if I were to able to tell you that I found a solution for terrible health insurance in the United States, where you could find awesome doctors, negotiate bills, fund those bills through a peer-to-peer funding platform, all for less money every single month. You don't have to worry about hitting your deductible. You don't have to worry about going through the hassle of that. Well, I've got the solution for you. You could go to joincrowdhealth.com. They've got a great service where they can help you out. You can use promo code Green Candle for 3 months. It'll save you $50 a month, where you can, get started, get your health covered in the way, shape, or form that you'd like. Utilize all the stuff all the great benefits that you can potentially get anywhere else, but get it for a lot cheaper. And with that, you're joining a great community of people who will help you reach the health care that you need and get the health care that you need, right? So, you know, Michael, you did say you asked me to give that price prediction of 2025, right? So I gave it to you. If you wanted all of your wealth sitting on a piece of paper and going through some way like that, I think I would call you absolutely crazy, right? So if you had at least one Bitcoin, or maybe less, maybe more, I don't know. If you have any of those, if you have any Bitcoin at all, I highly recommend getting it off an exchange. Why? Because it's the safest that way. We saw last bull run, FTX, BlockFi, Celsius, all these people blow up. Well, the one thing that never blew up was cold storage, right? So if you had your seed phrase on a titanium punch plate from Stampseed, you wouldn't have lost that. If you lost it last time, learn the lesson. If you didn't lose it from last time, learn from other people's mistakes. Get your Bitcoin off an exchange, utilize Stampseed, and you could use promo code Green Candle to get 15% off. That's right, 15% off your entire order. Do it now. Get your Bitcoin off an exchange. Get it in the most secure way possible, and do it to protect yourself and protect your generational wealth for you and your family. All right. If you're new here, I appreciate you guys coming on. Come hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, tell a friend to tell a friend. And thank you guys all for joining in. I will see you guys all at the next one.